You know who made it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast. Today, we are joined by Sabrina Chevannes, who is the founder of the No BS Agency, a members club for highly ambitious entrepreneurs. So welcome to the podcast, Sabrina.
Thank you for having me.
So Sabrina, can you start off by telling our audience just a bit about yourself and how you got started?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite random, I guess. Depends how long a story you want. But I guess the agency, first of all, started back in 2008. It was a long time ago. When I first started freelancing, essentially, I started first a teaching agency. I've always got a teaching background. I was teaching kids various different things, so I've always kind of come from that. And I was freelancing a lot, doing design work, website development, all that kind of stuff, marketing, and then really enjoyed doing that alongside the teaching, and sort of became a freelancer for 5 years. And as I started to get so many clients, I thought, okay, I'm going to start an agency. So I ended up just doing that. I kind of just delved straight right into it, for better or for worse, and learned a lot along the way. And so I created the agency, and then as I've been doing that, I've always been quite transparent with how I operate and how I do business. And I think that's where the no BS comes from. It's like I'm always really open with clients. I've found that in agency world, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I think that people claim that things are more complicated than they are. There's a lot of hidden costs, and we never did that. We explained to our clients how to do things along the way, and then as a result, I just kind of started coaching business owners on how to run their business as well. And I did my MBA alongside that, and collected a few additional qualifications like chartered marketer status, and just kind of kept on going, and found that the connection to my teaching, I still never really lost that, and just enjoyed doing it. So I kind of became like an entrepreneurial coach, and then as a result, I ended up starting this entrepreneurs members club now, so where I actually get entrepreneurs together to support each other, to help each other along the way, and just be really open and honest and transparent about their business journey.
In terms of No BS and the No BS Agency, how do the two work together? What inspired you to set them both up, essentially?
Well, I've been running an agency for the last 10 years or so now. And like I said, I kind of went into entrepreneurial coaching accidentally, just because when an agency, we're very, very personal, hands-on. We don't just kind of do the website or do the marketing and then just leave them to it. We very much help them all out with their business in total. So I will be writing pitch decks and business plans for people. I'll be setting them up with investors. I'll be doing all sorts of different stuff. So I naturally became very much involved in helping entrepreneurs. And even when I network, I kind of go and I make friends with people, and we have long-term friendships and relationships, and we have accountability partners. And I felt that I was joining different members clubs, and I never really got out of it what I thought would be necessary, so for entrepreneurs to support each other. So I just decided to create my own. So the No BS Entrepreneurs Club is for ambitious entrepreneurs who want to grow their business but also want to grow with themselves personally. So we do a lot of mindset work, a lot of personal development. And so the No BS agency now runs as an in-house agency as part of the club. So the club is very much the main focus, and it's all for entrepreneurs and to support each other. And then the agency now runs underneath that club, and still operates with its clients but also helps the members too.
And then just following on from that, how do you approach self-development in your personal and your professional life?
So I make sure that I dedicate a few hours a week every week to personal development. So I also read a lot. So I read an average of about 3 books a month, and these are non-fiction books. So I read a lot every month. And I also just spend a lot of time making sure that I'm personally working on things for myself. I believe that if you're growing yourself, then you're growing your business naturally anyway. And so I think it's really important. I think that actually self-development, personal development is probably one of the biggest things for a business owner that they shouldn't neglect. So I make sure that I dedicate a lot of that time. And because I'm also helping out other entrepreneurs with their personal development, it makes sense for me to have to work on it as well, because otherwise I need to be consistently learning new things that I can pass on to my my clients too.
And my next question was actually going to follow up on what you mentioned about aspiring entrepreneurs. So if we had any aspiring entrepreneurs engaging with today's podcast, what advice would you give to them particularly to aspiring entrepreneurs who are looking to make a positive impact? What advice would you give?
I think it's really difficult to do that, and I'm very, very anti-generic advice. I feel like this is exactly what's the problem with the internet at the moment, is that there is so much advice out there, and this is kind of where my whole brand has come from, is that it's no BS advice. I don't believe that one piece of advice fits everyone. I don't believe that there is like, I know that people are wanting me to say, just go out there, follow your dreams, you'll do it. Like, that's the sort of stuff that does really well. That's the sort of stuff that people want to hear, because it is motivating. Sure, there's a lot of that stuff out there, but what I would say to any aspiring entrepreneurs is make sure you're doing it for the right reason. So again, if you haven't read Simon Sinek's Start With Why or seen his TED Talk, go watch his TED Talk. It's one of the best TED Talks of all time, right? Millions and millions of views for a reason. If you don't know why you're doing it, then you'll never be able to come back to exactly the reason why you're still doing it. So every time something goes wrong, like you'll be like, why would I bother doing this? I feel like that so many times. I've been like, why do I bother running my own business? It's so much easier just to take a paycheck off someone, come back at 5 p.m. and just switch off, like, and not have to deal with anything. But you have to always come back down to your why. So I'd say that any aspiring entrepreneurs out there, make sure you're starting a business for the right reason. And also make sure you're going into it knowing that it's actually going to be difficult. I know that there is so much content out there that says, oh, start a business now. I only work 5 hours a month. I sit on my beach in Bali and I just have my laptop and I'm making hundreds of thousands of pounds a month. And it's just a load of BS, and that's a problem. So you've got to be really, really realistic. It's really, really hard. There was not a single successful entrepreneur I know that hasn't really, really worked their butt off to get there. Some people do get lucky, don't get me wrong, but that's one in God knows how many. So I feel like, just go out there, know exactly why you want to do it, make sure you are passionate about doing it, but also make sure that you are willing to put in the hard work, because consistency and hard work is what pays off. Like, you can't just do a little bit and then, there's a lot of stuff about work-life balance. When you're first starting a business, that is out the window. So that can come later, but you've just got to be prepared to put in the hard work.
I guess just following on from that, what would you say is probably a common misconception about entrepreneurship that you've encountered?
Yeah, what I just said about, that it's really easy. I think that people, I went to a talk the other day and I said to people, why do you want to start your own business? And they said freedom. And freedom's the biggest one there is, right? People say, oh, complete freedom. I want to be able to just have, all the freedom in the world. That's why I run my own business. So there's different ways of doing it, because, you can also still be a freelancer. I think you've got more freedom as a freelancer. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a freelancer. I think there's a bit of a stigma to being a freelancer versus having a business with employees and running that sort of stuff. That comes with a whole host of other headaches. Actually, it's so much more flexible being your own solopreneur. So I'd say that there's that. And I think, like, it is just the glamorization of what's found online. So the biggest misconception is that entrepreneurship is easy, that it is all freedom, that it is like, you're going to make money really, really quickly. You're instantly going to be so much happier because you don't have a boss telling you what to do. You're instantly going to have more money, all the profits go to you. That's what people think because of what's portrayed online, because people are trying to sell the courses on this sort of stuff, and that they try to make it look glamorous. And I think there's that sort of stuff, and that's probably the biggest misconception.
And then Sabrina, just wanted to also touch on what the path that led you to specializing in designing and building, let's say, low carbon websites.
Yeah.
If you could just talk to our viewers more about why you decided to specialize in designing and building low carbon websites, if you could.
Yeah, so I'd been running an agency for probably about 5 or 6 years at that point, and I just started to learn about your carbon footprint in general, and so I didn't realize that I think it was a WWF campaign actually, where they were trying to bring more awareness on what sort of carbon footprint we were doing as consumers. And so I did mine, and I was pretty shocked at actually how much of an impact I was having, and a negative impact on the world I was having. And I realized there were so many things that I could do in my day-to-day life that weren't even going to be very difficult to implement. So I started to do this. So I started to just become a little bit more sustainable in my own home. And then as a result, I was like, well, what could I do in my business? So I started to investigate about that. And I worked with an organization called BEMA, who are the British Interactive Media Association. I did one of their courses, and I basically learned a lot about sustainability, digital sustainability, and things in the creative sector. And I just kind of came a bit obsessed with it, and worked a lot on our digital tools and how to do that. I ended up being on their sustainability council in the end, and started helping other people and developing frameworks of how to build low carbon websites. But our agency spent about 2 years doing R&D of like how to build websites emitting the least amount of carbon possible, working with other people in the space as well to try and build their tools out and help people also lower their carbon footprint. And I just go around as a digital sustainability consultant to other businesses to let them know that actually their day-to-day stuff, they're actually having a negative impact on the environment, and actually how simple it is to be able to change it. So it's really just a concern about the environment, and realizing that actually I can make a difference with very little commitment on my part, and trying to educate other people, because I know there are lots of people out there who want to make a difference, who want to reduce their carbon footprint and impact, but they don't realize that they can do it so easily. They think it's going to cost a lot of money, or it's going to be difficult. So I just wanted to go out there and help educate others on how to do the same.
Could you talk to us more about the role that sustainability plays in your work and personal life?
Yeah, I think as I said, it was what I mentioned before in terms of, like I said, I realized there was a lot I could do to reduce the carbon impact of my footprint. And so I just, I spent a lot of time working out how I can change that in my personal life and my business life. So for example, personal stuff, it's very easy to do. Like I switched to all eco-friendly products. Like pretty much all the things I buy from are like B Corp organizations too. Just switching to lower energy providers, all that sort of stuff. I eat less meat. I'm not completely vegan or anything like that, but I do eat less meat. I eat a lot plant-based stuff, and just being really mindful of things like that. And the same in business. Like we're very conscious of it. Our carbon footprint as a business is so low. We use tools to track it all. We then also I offset the carbon, and I plant trees, and I do all that kind of stuff as well on top of it. So there's a lot of things I do, but we just make sure that we're underlyingly trying to reduce what we do in terms of, again, basic stuff with switching things off. Like I know people in office spaces, there's things on all the time. Like take even like I see you're in an office right now, and you've got a monitor on behind you. Does that monitor need to be on? Things like that. That's energy that comes out. We just switch everything off, and and all those sort of things. So things like that really.
In terms of your journey as an entrepreneur, Sabrina, what would you say are 3 key skills that you've learned along your journey that's helped you to become the success that you are today?
I'd say it's so it's a lot about mindset. So I think mindset's everything. I think that no matter what situation you're in, it's really how you react to it. And I know there's that quote which is like, life is 80%, well, the percentages change, life is 80% of what happens to you. Life is 20% of what happens to you and 80% of how you react to it, right? So that's kind of like what people say, and I do believe that, and I think that mindset is absolutely everything. I would say that for me, like understanding more about how to have a positive mindset in situations. And it's not just the toxic positivity that's out there. I don't believe that you should just be positive about every situation, but it is like learning. For example, I like learning to reframe situations, which I think is super powerful tool. So it's like when something bad does happen, you have to see the good in it, because all the worst things that have happened to me in my life have all turned out to be good in some way or other. Like you don't realize it at the time. You obviously think it's terrible at the time, but something good leads on from that. And I think that it's knowing that that's going to happen, and that's really important. I'd say it's been surrounded by the right people. So I've for years I was hanging out with certain people who I thought were inspiring or thought were helping me and being supportive, but actually they weren't. And you start to realize that some people chip away at your self-confidence or your self-esteem, and actually some people see you as a threat. There's always going to be people like that in your life, right? They see you as a threat and they actually don't want you to succeed. So I would say that you should be surrounding yourself. Everyone says surround yourself with the right people, but who are the right people? I think it's people who see yourself as better than you see yourself, because you're always your own worst critic. You always don't often see you believe in yourself, but other people believe in you, and having those people around you is unbelievable. I know that no matter what happens to me, I know that I'm gonna be loved by so many people, and I've always got people who have my back, and that's just an incredible thing. And then I say the third thing is just resilience, which they all kind of tie in together, right? But resilience is absolutely key. You're always going to face difficulties and adversity. it's overcoming them that is the difficult part. And it's like, if you can build that up, then everything becomes so much easier. When things happen to me now, people saying to me, how are you not like freaked out about this? And I was like, it just doesn't even faze me now, because so much stuff has happened over the years. It builds up resilience to you. So now that everyday sort of things that happen, it's not even difficult to deal with, and it's not even a big deal. So I think building up that resilience is a massive part of entrepreneurship.
And just following on from the strengths that you noted, for let's just say a young entrepreneur that's, like you're saying, trying to surround themselves with the right people, what do they need to do in order to find the right people to surround themselves with?
It takes time, but I'd say that, that's exactly why I've created this No BS Entrepreneurs Club, because I've vouched that every single person who's going to be in the club is going to be completely vetted to have the right sort of mindset, who have the right attitude, and is there to support people. Because I know how difficult it is. It does take time. Like, it's taken me years and years and years to find the right people to surround myself with. What I would say is that you've got to trust your instincts, though, and actually just don't ignore red flags. One of the first things to do is that's it, look out for red flags. People see them and think, oh, I'm not sure about that person, and they still kind of go on with it because they talk a good game, or they've got big qualifications, or they seem popular, and so they keep in with them, but actually they're a negative person in their life. And so you've got to read the signs. You cannot ignore red flags, and just give it time. Don't try to rush it.
Just within your agency, Sabrina, how do you foster creativity and innovation?
Again, that's a really weird question, just because I feel like, if you're doing everything as a culture, that just kind of comes with it. We're a creative agency, so naturally we have creativity all the time. I think that, again, there's no one rule to foster innovation or creativity. There is no one formula. And I think that people who kind of say that they did do that doesn't happen. Everyone's very different. So you could have multiple people in one company and they all do things very, very differently. So for me, it's really about understanding exactly who they are and what they do. And every person's really, really different. So it's understanding how your team work best. Do they work best remotely? Do they work best in a quiet environment? Do they work best in a big co-working space where it's really busy and hustle and bustle? And then being able to tap into each of those environments and making sure that they are happy with doing what they do. And of course, obviously, getting people to work together. And that's why it's really important as a team that you do have people that work well together as well. And it's just constant communication. I think with all that sort of stuff is letting people work in the way that they enjoy working, making sure that you're listening to them, making sure that you're being there for them. There is no right way. It's really just tailoring it to them, to be honest.
Tailoring it to their needs. And in terms of, do you find it easy to essentially, let's say, when you're getting new people into your team, do you find it easy to not necessarily change their mindset, but have any of the people that you've worked with, have they almost, let's say, imposter syndrome, where when they started, they believed that they couldn't do it, but then it's taken a lot of time to develop them? Or has it been more easy for you to essentially install that culture into their mindset?
Unfortunately, it's the opposite. Since COVID, everything's changed, and actually, it's the opposite. Most people who come in, they think they can do everything, and they don't have anything to learn. It's usually trying to educate them the other way around. And most of the people I think who join, who don't necessarily have the confidence, they find the confidence very quickly. Like, we've had people again go on to start their own companies or go on to do big roles and in big organizations, which is incredible. But actually, unfortunately, I think since COVID, I've seen the opposite happen. And I think most people who come in, they assume they're really good at something. For example, even now I try to advertise a content creator position, and we're trying to, we've got a studio where we need to have people filming and all that kind of stuff. So I would say that I feel like it's really difficult, because when they were coming to me and I said, they said they've got a big portfolio and they've done all this stuff. I said, oh, what sort of equipment do you use? And they said, oh, I've got the latest iPhone. And to them, that's exactly what it is to do a professional thing. And I was like, we need people who can operate full cameras. And they said, oh, we don't need to do that. You just use an iPhone for everything these days. So I feel like people these days have a different attitude and different mindset. And so, it's really difficult to kind of, to manage that these days. I think it's a little bit different.
Got two more questions before we just go into our bonus questions. Just the first of the final two questions. Can you share some of your most memorable experiences from your TEDx Shoreditch events?
Yeah, I think with TEDx Shoreditch, I love them. I think they've been amazing. I think for me, it's the fact that people come up to you at the end and say that they had the most mind-blowing day. Like we had our like NPS score at the end of it was like 9.2 out of 10, which is off the scale. People said like literally the event changed their lives. I love the fact that, you know, the speakers have won like clients after clients because of it, and they've won like book deals. Like I think for me the most memorable thing is the fact that it's literally life-changing for both the speakers and the audience. And you know, and I put everything into those events, and so I feel like it does pay off because people genuinely are really, really moved by them. So I absolutely love that.
And just reading into your background, I believe you're international chess master. So could you tell us about your journey from being an international chess master to founding No BS and the No BS agency?
Yeah, I guess I used to be a professional chess player several years ago. I feel like I've been retired for about 7 years now, so it's been a while. But I still coach, so I still teach, and I teach every week to kids and adults. But as an international chess master, I used to travel the world, play chess professionally. So paid for England, paid individually. And yeah, I think that, you know, there's a lot of correlation between chess and business in terms of the strategy. Like if you look at any business book, they always kind of feature chess sets and chess pieces on the front for like, you know, when it calls like strategy. And so I think like there was a lot of transferable skills. I think that chess helped me with my concentration and analytical skills and patience and you know, just being able to read your opponents and things like that. That's really important. All those skills are really important in business. So I definitely have transferable skills, and I think strategy's always been a quite big strong suit of mine. And so now I end up doing strategy for clients as well. And so when I do business strategy, they love it because they get their business strategy done by an international chess master. So it's quite unique.
I mean, how do you essentially balance your various roles and passions? Because I've also believe you have a passion in poker as well. So how do you balance it with, like, you say, poker and your time being an entrepreneur as well? How do you balance your time throughout the week?
Yeah, so poker, I feel like is a normal transition from chess. Like basically chess players go to poker because there's no money in chess and there's money in poker. And I think again, I just literally had an article published on Forbes which was titled "Is Poker the Best Game for Entrepreneurs?" Because I really do think it is. I've learned a lot from poker. And you know, like, you know, the risk analysis and like emotional control, like poker's really changed the way that I do business, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of poker now. Like I'm literally off to the Irish Open in a few days to play, and I love it. But again, it's not something I'm looking to do as a career. It's something that I just really love. And I think that, again, people always say that if you love something, it doesn't really seem as work. And again, I love my job. I love what I do. I guess in terms of time, this is what I do for clients, right? I spend a lot of time helping people with their productivity, helping time management, because I feel like I'm almost an epitome of that, right? I do so many things and somehow I still manage to find the time to do it. And I think it all comes down to priorities and you know, your passions for stuff. I think that I love what I do so much that I don't mind spending time on it, but I also do it so efficiently. And I think that one of the things I learned to do was something called deep work. I don't know if you've read the book by Cal Newport, but he wrote a book called Deep Work, and I read that every January because I feel like I get into the right mindset. And I think like everyone kind of spends a lot of time, you know, on their computer, checking emails, checking social media, doing all these various different things. And you don't realize how disjointed your work kind of flows are. And what I realized I was doing is that I wasn't doing deep work sessions. So now every single day I have like a 2 or 3 hour block that I block in, and I just make sure that on my phones I do not disturb. I'm not even checking anything. And I have that time purely just to work on something that's really important with the business. And I think that with now everything with No BS and the agency, like I'm setting clear goals and I'm just working towards achieving those. And I've learned really well to say like no to things now. I think I used to kind of say yes to all these different opportunities, and what I realized, again, my time was being dissipated everywhere. And now if it doesn't kind of fit my overarching goal with what I want to achieve for the business, I just end up saying no to it. And it's really hard to know what to say yes to, but that's kind of one of the things to learn along the way. You know who made it.
Thanks for that, Sabrina. We're now just going to go into our 3 bonus questions, our final few questions of the podcast. So first bonus question. If you could throw a dinner party and you could invite 3 guests, or past or present, to invite to this dinner party, who would it be? Could be people in your personal life or celebrities.
I do this all the time, and my answer changes all the time, and I don't know. I'm gonna pick 3 celebrities because I feel like that's who people know. And I don't think this person's changed, actually. I feel like a couple of people stay the same all the time. I always put Oprah in there because she's like the most successful female entrepreneur of all time, right? She's incredible. She's also hugely powerful Black woman, and she's inspiring to every other Black woman on earth, I think.
Yeah.
And I just think like she's phenomenal, and everything that she's done, and even recently she's been under the like scrutiny with everything in terms of like her weight loss and all that sort of stuff, but yet she's risen above it, and what she's done is just everything she's done to help other people, and just she's impacted so many people's lives. I just think she'll be someone like to learn off and just inspire other people in the room. The next one I'd pick is Jurgen Klopp, because I'm a big Liverpool fan, and I just think he's like, no, we'll get on with the thing. But I just think like his team talks are probably the most incredible ever, and you just need to know, like, you know that he's inspiring. Like his bond with the players, I've never seen anything like it, and I just think like sometimes when I see how the team come out after half time and like, what did he say in half time? Like, I want to know, I want to be on a fly on the wall. I just think that he'd be such an incredible person. And when you hear the other managers speak, he's got so much respect from every other manager as well. I just feel like he must be a good guy. He must be a really nice guy. And I feel like I'd love to have him there. And then I think the third one, just from a realistic point of view, I'd probably have like a comedian. For me, I don't know who I'd pick as a comedian. It changes all the time every time I pick, but I always pick a comedian because I think it'd be funny to have at dinner. I'd probably pick David Mitchell, who's I don't know if you've seen the Peep Show, but he's off the Peep Show, and he's just a comic, and anyway, and his wife Victoria Cara Mitchell is someone who I really, really admire. She's also one of the greatest poker players of all time too, so it's like she's someone that's huge. So I was trying to pick him because he'd be funny, and also he might bring his wife, and I get 2 for 1. So I feel like that's probably who I'd pick.
Fantastic guest list, that. And next bonus question: if you could have any superpower, what would that superpower be?
I don't know. I guess it's a really hard question. It depends on what it would be. I think because otherwise you're gonna be like, well, I'd have like omnipotence or something, and I could do everything. Yeah. Like there's that like kind of sneaky answer. I'd probably have the ability to read minds, like, but selectively. Like, I don't want to be consistently listening to other people's thoughts because that would suck. But like, I'd love to be able to selectively be able to read people's minds, because then actually I can tell people all the time. I know what people are thinking, what genuinely thinking, rather than what they're saying, and I just know where things are in the world, and be able in a place I can genuinely help people, because people come up, you know, put on this bravado of such and such happening, but actually deep down inside they really need help with XYZ, and I'd be able to do that. And I just think like it's really quite a cool superpower to have, and just knowing, reading people's minds, I think is a good one.
And then just the final bonus question: if you could change anything about the world overnight, let's just say with a snap of a finger, what would be the thing that you change?
All the BS in the world. Instantly. Honestly, I just have it all. I'd like there to be some kind of truth filter. I feel like everyone to have like an immediate like truth detector on them or something, like, so every time they say something it just buzzes every time they're lying or whatever. Like I can't deal with everything I feel like most things are just aren't real at the moment, especially social media. I guess the easy thing is to remove social media for a start, like just get rid of it all, and just because I think most of it just isn't real, and it's warping people's sense of reality, and I think it's kind of very, very unhealthy. So I'd remove social media.
I really like that. Change all the beats.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thanks again for being a guest on our See Me Be Me podcast, Sabrina. So the final part of the podcast, we'd now like to turn it to the guests. So this is now your chance to plug away and just let people know if people want to follow you on your journey on social media, where can they find you? Or if you have a website, the stage is now yours to let our audience know.
Yeah, so I am on social media, sadly, but reluctantly. So I mainly use LinkedIn, so you can find my LinkedIn. So I'm just Sabrina Chevannes on LinkedIn, so you can find me. I'm also at sabrinachevannes.com as well, where you can find all the other links. So those are probably the best places. I am on Instagram a bit, so I'm at SabZyC, which is SABZYC on Instagram. But yeah, like I kind of mainly I'm on LinkedIn. But if you go to my website, sabrinachevannes.com, you'll be able to find all the contact info that you need.
Brilliant. Now, once again, thanks for being a guest on our podcast, Sabrina, and thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, take care.
No problem. Thank you.